On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the NFL, my gripes with the NFL, and the inconsistency of the NFL. So, I'm going to give my take here on some things I noticed about the NFL that is super inconsistent, like the calling, the commentating, the fines, just a lot of the stuff that the NFL does that has left a bad taste in my mouth. The rigging, I meant to say the rigging of certain games, that's almost kind of blatant, and it's a blatant slap in the face, and that's what I'm going to discuss here. So starting off, my number one gripe is the inconsistency in play calling across the NFL, where I can look at, if we look at the Steelers and the Bengals, for example, and the Browns versus the Ravens. In a Browns-Ravens matchup, maybe they call a light push pass interference, but we look over at the next game, which is the Steelers and the Bengals, they call a big push, not pass interference. So there's certain things where it's almost like everything is open to interpretation, and maybe it is, and I don't know that, but to me, the rules should be the rules. The rules should be the rules. Why are we picking and choosing when we're going to call a penalty and not a penalty? It's very upsetting, especially when you watch your team and it's a blatant pass interference, a no call, but in a different game, a light push is a pass interference. Or you have unnecessary roughness on the quarterback. Your quarterback gets slammed and spiked on his head, not called pass interference. A light touch on maybe a Patrick Mahomes is called a heavy pass interference play, 15 yards. The whole thing there, the whole shebang, or whatever we want to call it, the whole shtick of, and it's an inconsistent thing, and I've noticed this where, why is it inconsistent? Why are the referees and certain referees call things differently? Why is it not a universal call? Where I'm a big UFC fan, as you guys know. The UFC is not perfect, and I don't think it is. And I'm not using these, or this is why I like the UFC more, or this is why the NFL is terrible. I think the NFL is very good. These are some things that I have issues with. How are we going to resolve them? Where there's a lot of bad calls, especially when we have review today, and we get to go back and review the call, and we're saying like a holding penalty, and it's no holding, or we see a blatant holding penalty that they don't call. And then some people are like, oh, we can't call everything holding. I mean, everybody holds. If we were sitting here calling it holding, the games would be 6 hours long. Why are we letting cheating slide? It's something that's just annoyed me. Where I've watched the sport for a long time, and I feel like I've noticed it more and more and more and more in today's NFL than I did in 10 years ago, 8 years ago, is NFL games where there wasn't as much, not cheating, but ridiculous calls. Where in a Chiefs game, we could have a minor pass interference call. We look at the game next to us, big pass interference called. A minor pass interference called, like a ticky-tack foul versus a Rams Saints, which I'm not a big Saints fan. I'm going to try to be unbiased here, should be called pass interference against the Rams in 2018, 2019 for them to go to the Super Bowl. That's not called, but a ticky-tack push on a Travis Kelce is a penalty, and that results in a victory. Or that results in a really good field position that helps them maybe win a game or gets them in a position to win a game. And it's just a weird way that the NFL works, where almost the rule book is like an interpretation, and each referee is allowed to call what they want, what they don't want. Why aren't we investigating the referees? If a referee makes a very interesting decision, or why they didn't call it, why don't we have them come in and give an interview and say, why did you not call that a pass interference? Oh, I didn't call it a pass. And then we get to hear, okay, are they just making it up? Is it just total cockamamie BS? What is it? Why aren't we calling that a penalty? Or if you did and it was a ridiculously light tap and then you call it a pass interference, why did you call that a pass interference? a pass interference, did that interfere him catching the ball? The ball hit him in the hands. And that is where I think pass interference, as the rule I believe is stated, if it interferes them from catching the football. So if Travis Kelce gets hit, but the ball still hits his hands, did it, like if he could have caught it, but he dropped it, could that institute, oh, that's not really pass interference because it hit him in the hands and he should have caught it and he didn't, but he got lightly tapped in the beginning of that. And then now there's a rule where, oh, you can only be so aggressive in the first 5 yards. But then sometimes in the first 5 yards, a penalty is thrown for pass interference. So none of it makes sense. Everything's kind of a convoluted story here in the NFL. It rubs me the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way that each different game can be called differently. And maybe that's just how we have to take it. That's how you take it in other games, wherever the case may be. I like to let him play. Unless it's a very egregious, deserved, like if it was a helmet to helmet, if it was something crazy like roughing the passer, unless it's really blatant and there's without a definitive doubt we can call a pass interference on that, and we don't. Where, it was a slight push, maybe we could get it in there. We're just going to rule it unruly and let them play. Where this playoff season, I noticed that they were letting them play quite a bit. Where you could be very handsy with the receiver, and they were letting that happen, and they were letting the DB make a play. And I enjoyed that. I like the let them play style. But why are we having some referees let them play, and then other referees, every little thing is a penalty, where whether you just tap the receiver, it's a flag. Whether you just tap the quarterback, it's a penalty. Whether you just slightly, a very minuscule, maybe offsides or false start penalty. I watched the NBA, and this is a little segue here. I watched the NBA. I was watching the NBA Finals and the NBA playoffs. I was very interested to see Wembanyama and the Spurs play. Wembanyama being an absolute freak and has potential to be one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. I don't know much about, I'm not a big basketball guy. I know a little bit. I don't know much about the rules or anything along those lines. But something I did like was if they ruled something like a flagrant foul, you could sit there and review it. Did they hit Shea intentionally? Did they not hit Shea? Did he hit Shea intentionally? Did he not hit them? Did they? Whatever the case may be, they would go and they would look at that, and then they would rule if they made the right decision, if they didn't make the right decision. And I get it also with these referees. It's real time, so you see a slight push, it might look worse than you thought it was. You see the replay, maybe you mess up. I think with the NFL, and you have the 2 challenge system, you should let them challenge if it's a egregious penalty. If it's something that is a game changer and gives somebody game-changing field position, and if it's a close part of the game, they should be allowed to throw the challenge flag, and it goes to New York, and they get to overview whether or not it should be ruled in that way. I think that's how you should do it. Where if it looks like a roughing the passer call and it's in the last 2 minutes of a game or whatever, if it's something where a penalty, you should be able to allow it to challenge a penalty that is an unjustified penalty, if that makes sense. Or if the referee or the coach doesn't think that should have been called the way it was called, a challenge flag could be played. You can overlook that play at that penalty and rule in favor whether that should have been a penalty or not a penalty. And that it goes in with the 2 challenges. Maybe that wouldn't be very effective and nobody would do it because they would just always rule in favor of whatever. But there's a way maybe you could combat it. Or we all kind of keep a rule book here. I don't know what exactly they can do. Something's got to be done. My number 2 complaint, the commentating and the bias of a Chris Collinsworth and a Tony Romo. They are single-handedly ruining listening to the NFL, and they make it unbearable with their bias and sometimes sexual and gross comments about the players. It ruins the whole, completely takes the fun out of the game when you sit there and you hear Romo while Patrick Mahomes is not on the field, while Patrick Mahomes might not even be playing in this game, it is, oh, that's a Mahomes type throw. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. You have to put it into it. If you're going to be finding players, which this would be a third one, if you're going to find players over them getting down on the ground and a gun-like poses, or if they do anything political, or if they say anything political, or whatever they do, they get a fine or a suspension. I think if they get a fine, and it's a $50,000 fine, you need to start finding the commentating as well. With how bad Tony Romo is, with how bad, you need to start. And what's with the 50,000? 50,000 is nothing. These guys are making 100 million, 50 million. 50,000 is nothing to these guys. That's like, who cares about? If you're making 100,000, you lose 50,000. You're still making 50,000. That's a lot. They're making a lot of money. They're pro athletes. They're making a ton of money for playing a game, for playing like a sport that they like. Like, it's basically a hobby that you get to play, and you're making a ton of money. And we're going to sit here and let you, you can't do this, you can't do that, we're going to fine you. I think they should just come out and do suspensions. I'll get to that in my next take, but my second, start suspending, or not suspending, but start fining these commentators. Every time Chris Collinsworth makes a sexual comment, giggle, the way that he talks is super gross. It's super gross. Mahomes, oh! You're groaning for another man. It's weird. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm just saying, you are a married man with a child that also works for NBC, and the way you're talking about Mahomes is leaving me to believe that you have fantasies about him in total. Now, obviously I'm joking a little bit. He's pretty gross with it. Romo's pretty gross with it as well, and I believe it should be fine because it's biased commentating. I'm coming here to listen to you commentate a sport objectively. Rogan is this way in the UFC. DC's this way in the UFC. The UFC's not perfect with the commentating either. They are just as bad, if not a little bit worse. Joe Rogan and Chris Collinsworth, I think, are on the same level, to me, of commentating. And Collinsworth is awful. Collinsworth used to be one of my favorites. Used to love Collinsworth. Thought he was the best. Ever since Mahomes hit the scene, it is not good. Where if Mahomes was playing and Mahomes was on the field and you want to sit there and you want to big up Mahomes and glaze him while he's on the field, while he's making plays, I could possibly let that slide. When he is off the field and he is not playing, and Jordan Love, this is a more recent, or a Joe Burrow for Jordan Love and a Joe Burrow, a Mahomes type throw. Oh, that was a Mahomes type throw right there. That was a Mahomes-like play. Mahomes didn't invent throwing the football. Brett Favre's been doing it. Rodgers done it. Even now, you look at it, Williams is doing it. Jane Daniels is doing it. Lamar's doing it. Josh Allen's doing it. Everybody has learned how to run and throw the ball. Brett Favre was doing it way before. Steve Young was doing it way before. John Elway was doing it way before. These guys were doing what Mahomes has done a little bit before. Maybe Mahomes is better. I don't think he is better than a Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not even better than a Brett Favre. Ring-wise, yes. Skill-wise, a lot of turnovers. I don't want to give my takes. I'm a Packers fan, so I'm a little bit biased. I think Rodgers is, when it comes to the talent of the throwing the football, I think he's the best to ever do it. I don't think there's anybody, when it comes to the talent of throwing it and throwing it anywhere on the field and getting it to any spot, anywhere, I think Rodgers is the best at doing that. I know he's the best at doing that. I've watched him do it time and time again. Also could do Hail Marys like no one else. I think consistency, you could go Breeze or Brady with either one of those two. But to stay on track here, he's acting like Mahomes is throwing a ball that nobody's ever thrown before, doing things that nobody's ever thrown before. And it's just kind of obnoxious and kind of annoying, because if I'm trying to watch the game and he's over here talking about this, that. Russell Wilson also could throw the ball just as good. This, that Kyler Murray can too. Kyler Murray's nowhere near as good as Mahomes, but he can do a lot of similar Mahomes style plays. So let's not act like Mahomes was the inventor of running and throwing the football, and he doesn't get as glazed as bad, but because he didn't perform as well. I just think that it's ridiculous the way that you talk about him, or the way that they're talking about him. And it's not even just him in general. It could go for any game. I just think bias should have no part in this game. If you want to sit there and glaze a guy, you can glaze him when he's on the field. If he's not on the field, I don't need to see a split screen while we're trying to watch a football game actually happen, while the Bills are trying to go down the field. And this goes, I do like to root for Josh Allen. I don't care if Josh Allen is not on the field. I don't need to see you cut over to him and pan him and show his react. I don't need to see it. He's not on the field. I want to see the defense. I want to watch the game. I try to stay unbiased here as possible. I don't care if it was Jordan Love. I don't care if it was Baker Mayfield. I'm a Packers and Bucks fan. I don't care if it's those two as well. If we are watching the defense play and watching an offensive play, we need to watch them play. We don't need to worry about what they're doing on the sideline. We're taking away from the game. We're taking away from these athletes that are on there playing the game. And when you glaze these players, you're glazing Mahomes and he's doing this, he's doing that, you're taking away from the other athletes. You're taking away from the defense. And then it becomes a point where you can't even acknowledge when he makes a bad play. Like it was the Giants and the Chiefs last year, and Mahomes was like fumbling the football and all this stuff. And Collinsworth is going, that's a great play from Patrick Mahomes. Are we going to sit here and take away that the defense made him fumble the football, or the defense caused a turnover, and Mahomes did something, and he's getting praised for it? Mahomes throws an interception, and it's, and it's just like ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The favoritism, the glaze. I know when that Chiefs, I think it was Kadarius Toney, lined up offsides against the Eagles, Romo was raging and crashing out, or it might have been Collinsworth. One of them was raging and crashing out and saying, this is ridiculous. How are we doing this? He's not even barely even offsides. Why are we counting it? Like this, that, the other, and the third. Like this, that, and the third. I believe is how the saying goes. Not 100% sure. We're going to roll with it. So someone lined up offsides and you were throwing a fit because they lined up offsides and they called it. The time to put on the Superman cape, Mahomes. And I'm mainly going on Mahomes. It's a universal thing. It's a universal thing. When you are watching a team play, you do not need to find and glaze a player. He did it with Caleb Williams in the game last year. Obviously, I'm a Packers fan. But when I look at Caleb Williams running 16 yards back, throwing it up to Cole Kmet, was it a good play? Yes. Should he have been running in a straight line backward? Probably not. That's not really how you want to do that. And Collinsworth was like, I've never seen anybody do this before. This is the first time I've seen somebody do this. You say the same thing about Mahomes. And Russell Wilson's been doing that, at least when he was in his prime, was doing that all the time. He was doing that all the time. So let's get some respect here for the players that have been around and have done this before. It is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous with the glazing, the commentary. Now, I do think Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, great pairing. They keep it professional, and they go back and forth. They don't talk bad about anybody, but they glaze both teams. That's what should be done. You should sit there and go back and forth on that, and Tom Brady gives his personal opinion. Now, I'd rather hear Tom Brady's personal opinion than what Tony Romo has to say. When we're trying to watch the game and Tony Romo comes out and he starts doing the little X, Y, and Z thing, why? I don't care what you said you're going to do, Romo, because when you played, you didn't do any of this stuff because you never won a championship. You barely ever went to the playoffs, and when you did, you never really were that good. You were a bust. You were overhyped and you weren't that good. You were the opposite of clutch. And I'm saying this Because when I'm watching the game, I don't need you to break out the board. They need to start running this play. See, Allen always goes to the left, so they need to line up on the left here, and they'll get him. And it's like, I don't care about that. I want to know the play-by-play. I want to know the play-by-play here. I want to know what Jim Nantz has to say or what you have to say. I want the play-by-play of what's going on here. Maybe if you wanted to add a little bit in. See, they ran that play, but you're like, he's getting out the board like he's the coach and they need to run this and they need to run that. And it's the way he's saying it. When Brady gives his opinion, Brady's got 7 Super Bowl championships. He's won it with 2 different teams, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. He went on an undefeated team, lost the Super Bowl, but he's every record you can think of, the most touchdowns, the most passing yards. He's got it all. So I would rather trust him when he's breaking something down. I would want to listen to him more than Tony Romo, in my opinion. So it's things like that where I look at Kirk. It's Kirk or Kurt on Thursday Night Football with is that also Jim Nantz or no? Oh, I might have messed that up. I don't know who. I think no, the other guy with Romo, Al. I think it's Al. Is it Al? Whoever used to be with Chris Collinsworth. Jim Nantz is the guy that is with Romo because Romo will go, hey, Jim, I think the Jaguars, they're going to need to run the football here. They're going to need to run the clock down here if they're going to want to have a chance because if Superman gets on his cape, Jim, it could be all over. That was my Tony Romo impression there for you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Al Michael and Kirk Herbstreit. I think it's Herbstreit, something along those lines. I like those two guys as well. I think Kirk does a fantastic job. I think Al Michaels does a great job as well. Both of them unbiased opinion. They give you an honest take. They're breaking it down, but they're not being biased about it. I like anti-bias. I don't care if it's my team winning. I don't care if it's my team losing. When I watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the bias against the Bucs is legitimately insane. I know the Bucs aren't everyone's fan's favorite. I know a lot of people hate them. I know a lot of people hate the Packers. But when I watch the Bucs play, almost every time they get it, they're glazing the other team and they're just making fun of Baker, making fun of the Bucs, this, that, and the third on them as well. We'll just repeat the same line from earlier. The bias, in my opinion, has got to stop. It's got to stop because it's unwarranted. It's unwarranted. Let's just call the game. I don't need to know your opinion. I don't need to know who you like. Let's just call the game and let's have a good time. Then on my third is the cringe finding. You know, someone gets down, does a sniper pose, or somebody does this, that. I think like Rashi, right? Somebody went like this, like they had a gun on them in the Pittsburgh Chiefs game, and there was like a flag for that and a penalty or a fine. My thought is my two things here is you should either suspend the player or you should penalize them and have a consequence in the game. Because why is it that is a finable, oh, you want to do that thing? Here's a fine. I think Saquon got fined. They were doing so many fines. These guys make so much money. Why are you fining them? If you want to have a real impact, penalize them in the game. So it's like, oh, Travis Kelce can do this, that, and we're going to fine him instead of penalizing it in the game because we don't want them to lose, but we want him to lose money. He's making so much money. He's got so much money. You think $50,000 is going to affect him? If you want to really fine $1 million. Fine half of his paycheck. Then you're going to have problems, and then people aren't going to do the things you don't want them to do. But the $50,000, the cringy stuff here and there, it's dumb. It's so dumb, and it's dumb as well because it's like the dumbest thing you can imagine. Oh, he didn't wear Nike. He didn't wear Nike padding. Fine. He didn't wear Nike cleats. Fine. Really? It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And it also takes away from the game because these players are getting fined for having their own personality, being who they want to be, doing the things that they want to do. Now, do I think that they should be doing gun poses? My opinion, they probably shouldn't. But penalty. Throw a penalty in the game if you don't like it. Throw a flag and it can affect off kickoff. Don't fine them and then have no percussions in the game, because how does that make any sense? If I go like this, like I have a gun on me, and they did penalize them in the game, but if we don't penalize that in the game and then we fine them, so we're just going to give them a little slap on the wrist, how about we penalize them in the game? How about we make that actually matter? Where if it's a penalty, you lose the touchdown, you got to start 10 yards. Like, you make it actually effective, and you don't get that thing. I'm talking a lot of smack about the Chiefs. They're just the main example, and that's just who I remember. I know Vita Vea went down and did the sniper pose, and there's been other people that have done other things. I'm thinking like the Lions player did something. I think Jameis Williams, when he did his inappropriate celebration, not that I particularly cared, but I think he got fined for that. And it's like, why sit there instead of throwing, or instead of fining, throw a penalty, make it actually count against something. Make this a team sport. If your guy messes up, it's going to cost on the team, because it's a team sport here. When I think Rashee Rice got suspended, or if they're going to do, in my opinion, they should do suspensions at the end of the year. If you're a playoff contending team and you have playoff contending aspirations, your players should get suspended at the end of the year and miss the playoffs, in my opinion. Because if you're going to sit there and you're going to make a decision like that, and you're going to be selfish and you're going to think above yourself, and you're going to get drunk or have an incident. I don't remember exactly what Rashee Rice did. I'm not a big Chiefs fan, so I don't really pay attention to what they do or whatever. I know for like Josh Jacobs, you can suspend him now, or if the Packers are in the playoffs, suspend him at the end. Make that person understand. And maybe a suspension should be more team-oriented, where the team's got to give a suspension and they can give a suspension when they want. I think suspensions, playoff. And if you're booted from the playoff, that suspension starts then. And it's kind of a hot take, and I get it, to where you want them to immediately be punished and they have to figure out the first few weeks without them. I think if you're going to be a playoff team and you're going to be a playoff contender, you should lose your player in the playoffs, and they should have to sit out because of the choices that they made. And it's a team. If I was a coach, that's what I would do. But I'm not a coach. Urban Meyer used to do that stuff. Urban Meyer was ahead of his time. Unfortunately, he didn't translate well to the NFL, but in college, he had a really good system where it was a unity. It was a team. We're a team here. If you're going to do something and you're going to stray away from the team, we're a team. Whatever you do is going to mess us up. If you're going to go out there and you're going to make a decision like that, that's going to come back on all of us. So there's a camaraderie. There's a continuity. Brady's freaking great on commentary because he says continuity, camaraderie. Like, he knows what it's like to play on the team, and he's won championships. You, again, want to listen. People really hated on his commentary. I think he's great. I think he's one of the best out there. I think Kevin Burkhardt's got a great voice for it as well. When it was him and Greg Olsen, they would get into that glazed category. I like that we separated them up. We get Greg. And the guy that Greg's with is pretty good too. So it's like, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what the main issue is here. But one thing that always kind of puts me off, this is my fourth, this really just has to do with the players, is like the cringy super toughness. I look at NFL players and I don't think they're that tough. I don't think they're that tough. The reason I don't think they're that tough, I mean, they are pretty tough. They're tougher than me. Just compared to fighting, like I'm watching the Dana White Contender Series. I don't know if you watched the Dana White Contender Series on Tuesday. This guy got his arm mangled up and snapped pretty much. Didn't tap. Didn't even like scream, yell, anything like that. He got his arm basically broken. And these guys in the NFL like, oh, he's going to be out for 6 weeks with a stubbed toe. What? Really? You stubbed your toe and you're out for 6 weeks? Or, oh, he sat there and he, his shin went into somebody's helmet. I'm watching guys' shins connect on people's jaws and head. I'm watching guys get their arms mangled and beaten, and they still play. So I don't know. I find them acting really tough, and they're not, and that's just a minor little thing here at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.